Welcome, everybody. I'm Patter, and I'm here today with Hope Fitzgerald. And I want to just jump right into gratitude, Hope. Like, I can't help but not, because what I'm realizing is you guys, Hope and I did exactly no preparation for this call because the preparation is decades of being who we are. And so the gratitude is to have become so comfortable in my skin that I can just show up with you. Like you've been on stages since you were a young girl, and that's very natural for you. But I've been really uncomfortable and growing the whole last decade as you've been there by my side and watched me go through so many experiences, and now we can just show up and be human beings, not all worried about anything. So I just give gratitude for the peace that comes with that, and that I know that we're enough, and that this is going to be a blessing, and that we had some basic themes that we talked about for 5 minutes, so we could write an email and invite people, and we'll get to those themes. But I want to, with the first one we talked about was gratitude. So I'm going to kick it off there and throw it over to you and see what you want to say about gratitude today.
Oh, well, this is the month for gratitude, is it not? I mean, not like we need a month to it's a daily moment to moment thing to try to stay in. Yeah, I have to echo your sentiments because we've known each other so long and our paths have crossed in different ways, um, revealing different aspects of ourselves. So really, um, to have a long-standing friendship like that is precious, so precious. And as we go through the times that we are in, this evolutionary push that I've been yakking about for so long, it seems like now, different people come and go in our lives. So people who have been there for a long time will suddenly go. And that's not how it was decades ago. You had your friends and you stayed with your friends, and the friends stayed with you the whole time. And there wasn't this flux, but
Such
flux
a
is
great
upon
point.
us.
Yeah.
Flux is upon us. So when we have a friend and a colleague who can hang in during these choppy waters and these in and out fluxes, it's a precious, precious thing. You
Mm.
can still speak to one another. You can still speak on a level, because here's the thing, I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off here, but if we're interested in our spiritual evolution, then we're going to be constantly upgrading, hopefully, with your tools, with my tools, with other people's tools. And as we're upgrading, that our beings are vibrating differently. So we want to be able to continue to communicate with our loved ones, but at these higher levels. So what's great is that as you've gone on your path of expansion and evolution, I've been on mine, and we can still talk to one another. And
Yeah.
and it's just, I
Like,
appreciate that. I'm grateful for that.
yeah. So there's another layer of it. Like I want to pull out of the fabric, which is gratitude for my awareness of energy fields. So I'll tie this back to specifically, and people might be new to the community or be watching the recording later. Like, we don't know who else is going to see this and not know that Hope has been since 2011 teaching this thing called the Infinity Wave. Isn't that when it came in 2011?
It came
And
in at the end of 2010, but I started the teaching in 11. Yeah.
and for like the first year and a half that she was doing it, every time she'd invite me to go to a workshop, it was like my former wife would just like throw the calendar out the window and be like, "You can do anything you want except this weekend. This weekend you're tied at home." And I was like, "Gosh, this is just not working." And I finally got there, and it was such an introduction to a palpable energy field. Like, you gave me something that I could feel that was invisible. right? But it was palpable. And I was noticing today, like I've got this this shirt on that I'm become a Maui hippie, right? There's like a way of dressing here. It's the first time in my life I've ever been comfortable dressing myself. I'm like, I've always been supposed to be a Maui hippie. I just happen to wear suits and go to an office for a while and do lots of other things that were never a fit. But the aspect of it that I was thinking about today is when we did the swimming in the earth practice. Like how likely is it that I'd be able to remember the name of a practice I led, let alone one you led, Hope? Like there's no chance. Like I don't remember stuff like that. But guys, I remember so palpably as Hope was teaching this workshop and we did this swimming in the earth, I was God, I get goosebumps everywhere, right? I was gifted this experience of feeling this weightlessness and being held by the earth at the same time. And that now, a dozen years later, has evolved into a sense of alignment with nature and the natural, such that I feel really attuned with animal totems, with wearing animals, with paying attention to the dragonflies that I know adorn your home. Like it doesn't even matter what home Hope is in or how recently she moved, that there are going to be dragonflies around. And there's one flying outside today. And so I'm attuned now to these energy fields of nature and gaining more and more of my sense of what I like to think about and what I like to feel from there.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
You could
It's
imagine.
such a great example, though, of how, for you, that was a big penny drop. For somebody else, it was something else in the workshop, or maybe not even in the workshop, but we just never know what is going to be the thing that tips us into some opened path, right? That's going to become incredibly important. I just love that. I love that.
Yeah, so let's see if we can tease some more of those aspects out. But before we do, let's have you, just for people who are new, just tell them what the infinity wave is, and just so they can get a handle on what this energetic is that's been the defining element of your life for a dozen years.
Yeah. Yes, because it just dropped into my field. I was completely unsuspecting, walking across my living room after very, very difficult previous 10 months. And I'd been to a sound healing workshop to sort of wash myself clean of all the challenge and the hardship of that year. And I came home, and 3 days later, I walked across the living room, and boom, I had 3 visions, just one after the other. I saw this giant wave coming towards me, beautiful turquoise wave. And there was kind of a byline with it, or an understanding that I had, that it represented a push of evolution for the planet that would be anchoring in at the end of 2011. And it would be in everybody's highest good not to resist it, but to learn to swim with it, surf it, move with this incoming push. And then the wave turned on its side, and it looked like the letter C, like this. And the message with that was, as the water in the ocean pulls away from the shore and it deepens into the seabed in order to get its energy to make the crest. So the message was, so should we leave our book learning, all our so-called knowledge on the shore, and go to the earth, go to the wisdom keepers of the earth, down deep underneath, and use that to mix in with this incoming push of evolution. And then that little letter C, that big cresting C, turns into a figure 8 made of flowing water like this. And that just hung out in front of my third eye for a couple of days. There was no message with it. I didn't understand what the heck it was. And it was getting a little annoying. And I wasn't used to, I didn't have visions. I was very spiritually oriented, very much a seeker for my whole life. but I didn't have visions. So this was unusual. And I'm a dowser. So after about 3 days, I sat down with my dowsing rods and I just started to ask questions about what this thing was and was it going away? And I was told in a nutshell that it was a 10th dimensional. We don't get hung up on that. Just very, very purified energy called the infinity wave. That's the name that was given to me. And it represents this energetic that is love and compassion at a very high level. And the reason it came into this in the symbol of the figure 8 made of water was the water is a reminder for us to stay in flow, to stay flexible. It's also got other meanings, but just to start with that. And this 10th dimensional love and compassion was embedded in that watery flow. So when we use this energy through our imaginations, we are inviting that flow of love and compassion into our own fields, and then we can share it and we can communicate and we can do all kinds of things with it. It's got 101 uses, 1,001 uses. I don't even know them all. But and I was told I needed to start teaching about this, which made me very uncomfortable because that's really all I knew was what I just told you. I wasn't about to walk into a workshop and start teaching something I didn't know. But I did anyway, and that's how we got started. And what happened was and I'll finish up just by saying that this was a trust walk like no other trust walk I've ever done. I sat down every week, and I just started to douse, and then these practices would just come tumbling out of my mouth. And by the time I was ready for my workshop, I had some practices that had been channeled. I had not been a channeler to my knowledge until that point. We really even wasn't ready to accept it then. And then these practices after the 3 workshops, so it's 3 weekends, made an entire workshop, January, February, March. And at the end of it, I looked back and I could see not only in the people who had participated in the workshop, but the progression of these practices were brilliant in their design. I could never have manufactured what came through and the order in which they came through to help people make an evolutionary step, to help them make a leap. And that's exactly what happened to the participants who took the workshop, which I then repeated a couple of times, many times actually. But yeah, so that's a tiny little encapsulation of the journey with it.
Yeah, I just love the aspect where you just started scheduling workshops with very little knowledge about what it was going to look like, and how much the whole story kind of has that hand of God feel to it, that it's so brilliant and so in alignment. So I don't remember what I was going to ask next, but I know where I want to go now, which is so it's been 13 years.
Huh.
And we are not the same species that we were 13 years ago. So maybe, okay, so the first part of the question is like how has the human species changed in the last 13 years?
Oh, wow. Well, that, blah, 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 blah. But what I can say, I think there are there are so many teachers now. There's so many people channeling and bringing in messages, and the getting on the internet and sharing those messages. My perspective is that more people are more aware. At the same time, we have the outer look of the world as increasingly chaotic. So you've got this, and in some ways, the increasing chaos is pushing more people to be aware. I think there's a relationship between those two things. There's a relationship between those two things. So the infinity wave can be on its side or up and down or whatever. But I love to think about this, when let me just digress just a tiny bit. When we're in this 3D world, we're in a world of duality. We're in a world of yes or no, and you're either for this or you're against it. And we know this very well. All of us on this call know what that's about. When we're applying an energetic that's 10th dimensional to that dualistic world, now we are lifted out of the duality because we're in a much higher vibration. So it's not so hard and set in this dualistic framework. We move into yes and instead of yes no. We move into this ability to sort of float a little bit above the chaos, maintain multiple positions at one time, maybe not even have to choose, but just it's a whole different framework. And I think to get back to your question, I'm not the only person teaching these kinds of things, I'm not the only person with a tool to help you get to that place. The infinity wave happens to be very, very good at it, to help get to this elevated out of the fray position so that we can even see, I'm looking at it at this deconstruction of the world from a whole different platform now, and maybe even seeing the necessity of it, maybe even seeing, we don't even have to get into judgment about it. So I think, there are more people doing that, and there are more people becoming aware that there's another way to exist. I will say also that in the early days of the infinity wave, when I doused and they told me you need to do 3 weekends and that's a full workshop, that seemed like a lot. But at the same time, when I look back, I realized we were doing the heavy lifting of grounding that energetic in and starting to let it grow into the egregore or the thought form of it. And as time went by and I would start to teach the wave to newer and newer groups, they got it faster and faster. And now it's here. It's massive. You can tap right into it. It's like plugging in your socket, and it's available. And you may have noticed in 2011, when I was starting to do all this stuff and really questioning my sanity, I looked everywhere. I figured, well, I can't be the only person seeing infinity signs, and so I went and I went into stores and I looked at logos and I looked at jewelry. I looked at everything to try to find, the infinity sign. And I did not see it anywhere. And then they had said it's going to anchor in at the end of 2011. Sure enough, January 2012, somebody hands me a cappuccino with the infinity sign in it. And from then on, it was game on. And now it's everywhere. Everybody has it in their logo. They don't even know why they have it in their logo. They just like it. But, it's an energy and it's alive. And I see Antonia's here, and she is the precursor infinity gal to me. She was working with infinities before I was, and hers are slightly different from mine, but we are very much in agreement about the living aspects of these geometries. They're not just 2-dimensional or even 3-dimensional things. They're alive. So how has that affected humanity? I think it has. I can't quantify it, but I think it has. I mean, just the fact that it's a #1 tattoo for women. It's Meta's strange new logo. It's everywhere. So people are being affected. They don't even know it.
Well, I think For those of you who don't know it, Hope and I have a funny relationship with the word evolution, where she was talking about it when I was working for her in 2012. And I was like, Hope, people don't want to evolve and they don't want to talk about evolving. Like, let's talk to them about things they want to talk about. And now I love talking about evolving. Like, I've changed so much and come around to understand that Hope was just early. But inside of that context of evolution, if in part of our parallel journey, I've been um, experiencing this journey with water, and one of the things that I've come to is that I think humanity gets the relationship with water that water is ready to give us, right? So it's not that we get smarter and we figure it out. It's that water allows and says, you're going to be able to chew on this now. So this last decade has seen us in this place where we have an acceleration in the understanding of living water, and yet the science of measurement is dragging behind.
Mhm.
And so we can send water off to a lab and get it verified, but we can't do it in your home unless you empower yourself and you come to know yourself as an energetic being who is the authority on all things in your life, and you develop the sensitivity to notice the difference that living water makes. Then you can know all day long whether water is right for you. In fact, you guys, when Hope bought my first structured water device, and the way it went when I called her was, I found something, I don't know how to talk about it. I was like, can we just make this short? Like, would you get out your dowsing rods and just determine if you're supposed to own one of these, please? Because it's this device and I don't even know how it works. And based on that presentation, she said yes. um, and so inside of this evolution, this shared evolution that we're in, we're being gifted more and more tools that meet us in our quest to be empowered energetic beings. And none more important. Like, they're all important, right? There's just tons and tons of them, but none more important than the infinity wave. Like, I learned it a dozen years ago, and just today evoked it and felt it as one of the strongest energies I've felt so far today. So that another thing that you talked about is the practices and the way that they were layered. And I wanted to go back to the yes and one because it was so intuitively appealing to learn this concept, like, just feeling like fighting with life all the time in polarity. And then here comes this teaching of, well, whatever it is that's really important to you, you can say yes to that. And you can say yes to the other thing that looks like it's in conflict with it. Like, you can have them both, and they can work together. And I had probably consecutive years where I didn't use the word but. Like, I got kind of fanatical about it. I was like, I never would write but. And that's the way sentence construction works for a lot of people, is that they do that. And so that concept has predominantly shifted part of who I know myself to be, is that I just don't see things in conflict. I see them as seeking to harmonize and take us higher. And I'm really thankful for that, because I think it feeds the perspective of oneness, and it feeds the perspective of love. And those are two things that I'm certainly profoundly interested in. The other thing that I wanted to visit that was kind of evoked by your sharing is the versatility of the infinity wave. Like, I remember being in courtrooms and evoking the infinity waves and asking that they be there always. I can still remember the courtroom in particular where I evoked it, and I bet the infinity wave is still flying around in that room, and doing its best to warm every soul that comes through there. And one of my favorite ways of visualizing the infinity wave was using it as glasses. I would put on my infinity wave glasses. So I just visualize this watery wall of water um, circling my face as glasses, and it just changed the way I look at things. And yeah, so anything there you want to comment on or expand on?
Well, I just, the whole exploration into water, which kind of happened simultaneous to this. The wave was maybe a year out or so, but I remember you, sending me these pictures of water units and dows which one I should do, and then I didn't even know what that fourth one was, and I said, well, that's the one that's dowsing out, and that was structured water unit, and it was about 9 months after that, or maybe 6 months after that, I said, what's happening inside that tube? Like what's the water doing? And you called me and said, are you sitting down? Because I just found out that the water is going in figure eights inside that thing. And it was so cool. And so during that whole time, I really dove, so to speak, into learning more about the energy of water. I read a lot of Dr. Emoto's works, and I was really vibing on this idea that he never wrote, but he did say in an interview that I heard that water is God. And I know that might sound strange to some people, but when you think of the way that it is, we don't even know how responsive it is. We don't even know how ubiquitous it is. It's coming down from space. Spaceballs are coming into our atmosphere every day. Every day. There's tons of water in space. And I thought, because I was always thinking, what is a unifying principle? There has to be something that's staring us right in the face. It has to be so simple, The infinity wave is simple. When I started having these channelings, it started to open up all kinds of folks talking to me, and one of them was so-called creator, and I was so busy working with my little brain to try to figure something out, and every time I would speak with creator, it was like, it's got to be so simple, and so anyway, I stopped trying so hard with my brain, and I just looked at water and I went, what if that's it? What if it's in everything? It's got so many properties that are beautiful. It's so powerful. I mean, it's just started to occur to me, maybe that's it. We've been just taking it for granted this whole time. And then I heard this interview with Emoto, and at the end he said, water is God. And I went, now, I'm not saying that that's where I am firmly on the topic, because I think, gosh, it's too big a question to answer, but it certainly carries aspects, or there's some kind of delivery system. There's something about water. And so I love the fact that you and I took these separate but parallel and interlocking paths, that brought us in and out and back and forth again with water and energy.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten to that place where I've said water is God, and what it is for me that has me step there sometimes is it's everywhere, right? Like water's in the air, guys. Water's 99% of our molecules. They're so small, water molecules. 99.9% are water, of you. Like it's what you're made of. It's the essence of everything. And so I think God is everywhere, and God is all knowing, like whatever that is. There's an intelligence beyond my intelligence, anything that I've ever been able to sum up. There's always more. And it seems like it could be held in water. Hydrogen and oxygen occur to me as other possibilities, not to be dismissed. And I haven't studied them and experienced them in the same way, but I'm definitely open to the idea that water is God, and I'm also really open to whatever is God for you is fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whoever's defining, right? And
Well, just that's the fact that this delivery system came in a watery form was a big aha, you know, why is it water? And that's what led me down the trail to try to understand water better. And when you came forward with all of your science about water, that just, that was just so helpful, giving some basis for the more esoteric aspects of water. So yeah, I thank my water every day,
yeah,
There's
so in case the equation's not completely clear, Hope and I have lived parallel journeys, and in the parallel journeys where we've, come back and touched often, Hope has been working with the energetic aspects of water, and I've been working with the physical aspects, like more in the living water realm, the structured water realm. And so it's the same journey. It's the non-physical and physical version of the same. And so now you've written a book. So
okay. So I have written a book. I was told, oh, I'm embarrassed how many years ago I was told to write a book, and I really was reluctant. I really dragged my heels. So anyway, I finally finished it, and it is coming out December 8th. And that's an important date because number one, it's an 8. Number two, it is Buddha's Day of Illumination. That's when we celebrate it, when he sat under the Bodhi tree and went, aha. And it's also, for those in the more Christian background, it's the Immaculate Conception of Mother Mary, apparently. Although who can nail those dates down? I don't know, but that's when it's celebrated. And so that's when I'm having my little launch party. I'm going to have an hour and a half, a 90-minute drop in anytime and just say hi. And the book will be discounted that first day. So we're trying to, and there will be some other goodies that we're going to be offering. So if you feel like coming along, I guess the best thing to do is sign up on my website, and then you'll get the notification. And if you don't want to continue, but the thing is, I offer a lot of things. I offer free meditations, channeled meditations, most Monday nights of the month. I just started those during, and then I'll get back to the book, but I just started those during the COVID lockdown time because I couldn't think of what else I could do for people. I was not used to being online at all. I never channeled online, so in front of anybody. So I just started off doing the infinity wave meditations that I knew very well. And then after, I don't know, a couple of months, I started to notice that there were other words coming through and other things, and pretty soon we found out we were being instructed by a galactic team named the Ahmad. And they took us under their wing for about a year and little extra. And then they handed us off to a group called the Hathors. The Hathors were the fourth dimensional beings that really oversaw the Egyptian golden age and worked with the priests and priestesses there. And they're represented in their temples, and they look like the cows. They have the ladies have a 1960s hairdo you may have seen. Anyway, the Hathors are amazing and had a completely different energy than the Ahmad. And then recently the Hathors graduated us, and now we're working with an angelic team. And that's pretty recent. So I never know what's going to happen. And these guides of mine, snuck up on me. And so now I channel in public. I never in a million years thought I would do that. But these meditations are pretty nice, and they're free. So you're welcome to join me.
so when people want to sign up for your website, it's spreadinfinitehope.com now, right? That's your website. So go to spreadinfinitehope.com, and Hope is always just giving practices and community connections, and you know, she has things for sale if you really work at it, but she's pretty modest about it.
When Patrick was trying to get me into a more business-minded aspect, he's like, "Hope you're going to have to sell some things." I'm like, let's just give it away. Anyway, I try to strike a balance, now, but
She's
it's my
maintained
pleasure, right? What's that?
you've maintained that spirit of generosity. So signing up for her list is just going to get you a lot of well, not a lot, an occasional wonderful email. And so just to get the specifics out about December 8th, is that the day your book goes for sale on Amazon? And I want to share with you all a little bit how that works on December 8th, because you guys can actually make a difference. And I know this game because I played it. So first off, the reason authors like us write books and put them on Amazon is because they'll print them on demand and ship them out for us. And we can't come close to anything like that anywhere else for the cost. And so even though we might want to, support local businesses and that kind of thing, sometimes you just have to go into the belly of the beast and use one of their tools. And then there's a game that's played. And the way the game is played is the day that Hope's book is released, it will be released in a category. And if on that day, one of the biggest authors in the world releases a book in that category, Hope's not going to have a #1 bestseller, because that biggest author in the world is going to have a #1 bestseller. But there's so many categories, and there's a real opportunity to be an Amazon best-selling book. And what that looks like is you ask your friends and family and colleagues and business associates to purchase your book on that day. So if you guys can put down December 8th in your calendar and Amazon and look up Hope Fitzgerald, and the title of the book is The Infinity Wave.
The book. This
Yep.
gray band will not be there. This is my only copy. But that's what it looks like. Is it backwards for you?
No, it looks good. So you go to Amazon on December 8th and you buy the Infinity Wave. And if some dozens of us do that, Hope's book will be an Amazon bestseller, which is a nice little thing to have, but it's actually not that big a deal, because I focused on getting that on my book, and I got that on my book, and I can't tell you that it's mattered at all
Right.
since the day that I got it. But anyway, it'll be your first opportunity to get it. So Hope, I'm curious, if somebody's never experienced your work before and they read your book, like, what would you expect them to get from reading it that would impact
They will get, first of all, a more detailed story of how it came in and what that first year was like in those, as we did these workshops and learned more and more about it. I mean, I was learning on the fly, then and I give short, very short little bite-sized pieces of information about, just to set the context, how I view source, what we might call source, for lack of another word, how I view dimensions, how I view water, like just little bites, so that so they can understand where my mind is, and also this idea where we can stay very open-minded. So I have a little practice that I share about that little technique, so that we're not butting heads. Well, I don't believe that. Well, I believe. Well, let's just float here with some ideas. So I gave a little section on that. Then I walk people through how to use the wave, multiple ways to use the wave. And then I lay out the first 9 practices, which were the ones I did in those first 3 workshops. And those 9 practices, the first 2 are actually included in the book. There's a QR code, and you can hold your phone up and you can get those first 2 practices for free. They come with the book. The rest of the practices can be purchased, and I think most people want to do that. They're because you want to have the whole thing, but it's not I write about them and talk about them, so you could kind of try to figure it out. But the point is that these practices were recorded in a very high quality studio. I play crystal sound bowls, singing bowls, as I do the practice. And there is a alchemy that comes together with the bowl and the practice that kind of takes you into a zone where you can really experience the wave and have a sensation like you were talking about, Patrick, and have it really shift you. That's the whole point. The whole point is to have an experience that's meaningful for the user. So that's why I think having those practices available is the right thing to do. So that's what they'll come away with. It's not a very thick book. It's pretty skinny. It's really meant as a handbook, as a guidebook. And I have a lovely gal. There's some channelings in here. I have a lovely gal who has done the drawings. There's the yes and drawing, Patrick. And she's done them. She's done very beautiful little simple drawings so that it's illustrated to make it easy, because it is easy. And what I love about the wave is that it's practical. As you were saying, you were in a courtroom and you were running the wave. I call it running the wave because I think of running the water, on me, in my heart, in my head, in my eyes, wherever, in the room. And when you do that, you impact the field that you're in. You impact your own field. You bring it into a harmonization. You bring it into you up level it, because the frequency of the wave is very high. And then that in turn affects everyone and everything in the room. And one of the things I remember you saying to me was you wanted me to kind of underline or bold the fact that the wave can help a person shift your emotional state on a dime. And it really, really does. It really does. You can go from a fearful state to a calm state. You can go from an angry state to a laughing state in no time at all. And it doesn't, it's not logical. It just happens. So
I love that about it. And, in the decade since I felt strongly about that, I've had a hand analysis done. And my coaches who were looking at my hand said, in a way, your life is very simple. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, well, usually people have multiple life lessons and you just have one. And yours is to learn emotional authenticity. And so no wonder that was appealing to me, right? These connections. That's why always the emotional piece with me is because that's what I'm up to in this lifetime.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense.
Right? And that's why so much turmoil.
Sounds like you're getting really close to the nub, though. You've got your tiger shirt on, you're wearing your flip-flops, you're in the right zone.
Definitely smoothing out. So as I mentioned to y'all at the beginning, we didn't have an agenda or a plan for this conversation, but Hope, I'm at the place now where I want to see if anybody in the community has any questions or comments or wants to jump in with anything. And then I want to turn it over to you. You did see that I volunteered you in my email to my list that you would be doing a practice. So I think the mic is now yours to kind of interact with the community if there's anything there, and then to lead us into practice and help people to feel this amazing sense of compassion and love and calm. And
yeah, be happy to do that.
To take it from there.
Yeah, would anybody like to ask a question? Or make a comment?
Yeah, anything you want to share? There was a comment about us sharing as a group, and everybody's welcome.
All right. Well, doesn't seem like anybody is wanting to ask anything. So let's go right into the practice. Does that sound like a good idea?
It sounds great. I just want to make sure I've been really clear. So please mark your calendars for December 8th and consider buying Hope's book on Amazon on December 8th. We can make a difference together and on that day for her. And it's a great way to learn about the infinity wave and, share it with anybody that's struggling and might benefit from a felt sense of love and compassion, with just like what you're going to have now. And I know I'm saying this now because it's like I'm prompted by all the years we've done calls together. Because I know when Hope finishes, we're all going to be blissed out.
Yeah.
So we're going to just gently fade away the call. We're not going to talk again at the end. So these are my last words.
Fantastic. Thank you, Patrick. And thanks everybody for coming. And I'm just going to ask Joy, she's got her phone on, and maybe just mute that. If you wouldn't mind. Excuse me. All right, so everybody, let's get nice and comfortable. Close our eyes. I'm so grateful to be able to do this today because I need it, and I'm happy to share it. All right, so let's begin just by some simple breathing. What I'd like to imagine is that we have a tube running from the crown of the head down through the body, down through the sacrum. And whether you're sitting or standing or lying down, imagine that that tube is actually extending into the earth and slightly above your head. And so let's begin concentrating on the heart center. We're going to take a deep exhale downward through the tube, down into the earth. And breathing back up into the heart center. And repeating this, deep, deep breaths. And in every exhalation, we are emptying out that which no longer serves. You don't have to identify it. Just say, I am emptying out what no longer serves into the earth. And the earth just willingly receives such things and transmutes them into something beautiful. And as you are breathing back up into the heart, those breaths are full of whatever the earth has to offer you. Many, many aspects of the earth, of Gaia, her constancy, her abiding love and generosity. You can go on and on. So exhaling out that which no longer serves, just do this for a few more moments and inhaling back into the heart center. All those gifts from Gaia. Good. And now we're going to switch the focus. And we're going to exhale deeply up and out of the crown like a fountain. Expanding out in all directions and breathing back into the heart center. That which those upper and around us realms have to offer. Whatever you imagine that to be. Divine light, wisdom, knowledge, whatever you imagine. Breathe those back into your heart center, and every exhale expands your field wider and wider in all directions. And every inhale fills you back up with those beautiful qualities that are around you all the time. We'll just do that for a few more moments. Good. And now let's imagine that we're doing both at the same time. And this can be a little challenging, but you're going to breathe in from above and below into the heart center, and then breathe out above and below. And as you do this, and don't get frustrated, just try to let it happen naturally. We have a sense of our place in between these two equally spiritual realms. The great spirituality of this planet and the great spirituality that lies above and around us all the time. And we are the connectors. We are the ones who can walk and talk the wisdom from both realms, put things into practice. I see this as our divine blueprint and our agreement as part of being a human being on this earth. All right, now that we are connected and aligned, imagine in your heart center a little figure eight of flowing water, a little infinity wave. Now, if this is new to you and you want to help get this imagery started, you can just take your finger and put it in your heart center and just trace a little figure eight. Or you can simply use your imagination. Now, when this figure eight starts to move in your heart center, and you continue to breathe deeply, you may notice that there is a slight softening in your heart. And if not, that's fine. Just notice that the wave has a color, perhaps. And it may be oriented in a certain direction, and it may be flowing at a certain pace. Just notice what appears to you. And now, with every in-breath, this infinity wave is going to begin to stretch side to side. So we're going to orient it so one loop end is pointing towards one rib and the other is pointing towards the other rib, parallel to the floor. And as you breathe in, those loops begin to fill up like little balloons, stretching the wave ever so slowly. Because what will often happen is it'll start to feel tight in your heart center. And all you have to do, if that's the case, is let the water run faster. Let the water do the work. You don't have to do anything. This is all about allowing and inviting and breathing in, stretching those loops a little further. And as we do this, we are inviting this love and compassion into our heart zones. Compassion for you. Compassion for all you have been through, all you are dealing with now, all the ways you have tripped up, all the ways you have had unintended consequences, all the ways in which you offer compassion to others. But most importantly, compassion for you, right here and now, for your human existence. And allowing yourself to receive that level of compassion. So rarely offered, so rarely received. We just don't tend to do that. Here's your chance. And as these loops continue to stretch across your chest, widening the heart along with it, you're receiving limitless love, infinite love, love for you as a soul, for having made the choice to be here now. There is no accident about that. This was an active choice. Love that you had the courage to do so. Love for the way you have loved others. Love for the way you have expressed your love in the world and continue to do so. Love for just being who you are. apart from all you're doing, love for your being. And let's just receive that level, that depth, that breadth of love into you, into the deepest part of you. And widening the heart just a little bit more until the wave is fully across your chest, flowing beautifully, heart softened, heart opened, heart vulnerable, safe and held in this beautiful wave energy. What freedom exists here. What a relief. And now you may decide at what size, or if at all, you'd like the wave to remain in your heart center. You can shrink it back down wherever is comfortable for you. And just continue to let it run there. You don't have to check in on it, but you can repeat this practice as often as you wish. In gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What we'll do is just say a gentle goodbye and wishes for a happy holiday. And deep thank you to you, Patter, and everyone who sees this, and especially for those who participated today.
Thank you, Hope. Bye-bye, everybody.